Hello and welcome to another episode of the Socialistics Podcast. This is Jason Yormark, owner and founder of Socialistics, and this week I'm going to try and wing it. Typically I have a topic that I want to throw out there, but this week I just kind of wanted to talk through what I've experienced over the past couple of weeks and how we're doing as an agency. And certainly the goal of this particular podcast is to be helpful to folks that are looking to start an agency or maybe have just started one. So I might as well start providing a little bit more visibility and insight into what we're experiencing and what's great, what's challenging, and all that good stuff and in between. So maybe this is a little bit of a smorgasbord episode of a variety of different things, but I wanted to start with what I've experienced the past couple of weeks. I traveled to Arizona for a couple of weeks. I play baseball, and we have our World Series in Arizona every year. They still had it this year, despite the pandemic, with some pandemic provisions in place. But I decided to go for it, and I'm glad I did. But it was really the first time that I removed myself from my normal work environment for an extended period of time. In this case, 2 weeks. And, we're a virtual agency, so I didn't really think too much of it. I have my laptop. I knew that I would go and still work and stay on top of things. But I don't think I really had a good sense of what that experience was going to be like, because it was really the first time that like I said, was away from my normal work environment where I didn't have anything really else kind of interfering too much with the day-to-day operations of our agency. So I think I kind of underestimated a little bit of what kind of thrusting yourself into an environment like that how that might impact your mindset and how you're running your business. And I think it was a couple things. Number one, it's really hard. You can't really check out. I mean, especially with where we're at, look, we're still a smaller agency. I've hired a couple people recently, so we're up to, I think 8 or 9 people. So that's big for us. That's twice what it was a couple months ago. So, you're still small, but I'm the sales team. I haven't gotten to the point where we've hired a sales team yet. So I'm the business development guy. There's nobody else. I mean, certainly my team helps me with, pitches and proposals, and they chip in there, but ultimately the calls and the follow-ups and staying on top of new opportunities and nurturing those over time, that's all me. And so when I'm removed from my computer or my devices, if I'm doing something else during normal business hours, those things stop. And that didn't really click with me, because again, this is the first time I was thrusted into an environment where I would be away from that for extended periods of time. So, I do my best to kind of get out in front of those situations. If I know I'm going to be away for 3, 4, or 5 hours, I try to kind of do as much as I can ahead of time, but you can't plan when somebody might reach out to you or ask for something or send you an email. So it's tough. And I think the biggest learning for me, I think what I took away from it was, I probably need another me. I need to at least start to pursue another version of me if I ever want to be able to actually ever go on a vacation. Because vacationing isn't just where you physically are. Especially as a business owner, a big part of going on a vacation is mentally going on vacation, actually checking out, like not having to think about work for a couple days in a row at least. And I can't remember the last time I've done that. I can't do that. And trust me, I am not complaining. I will take the life I have versus the alternative. I mean, certainly there are benefits to, having a traditional 9-to-5 job with set hours and set vacation time. Like in that scenario, you are allowed to check out and go on vacation and not think about work in most cases. In mine, I can't. Even when I'm doing something else, I'm thinking about work, or I'm drawn to my phone to make sure that my inbox isn't getting overwhelmed. So I can't do that. And until we grow enough, or I get serious about hiring another person that can kind of step in and do those sorts of business development and sales things, I can't ever check out. So vacationing is really a balancing act for me. I mean, I can physically be anywhere and I can go anywhere because I can basically work from anywhere, but I can't mentally check out. I can't, stop thinking about work for an extended period of time. And, I'm okay with that right now, but I would imagine over time, that's something I probably would like to do. But that comes with time. And I think that's one of the things. If you're starting an agency or thinking about starting an agency, you need to be prepared to kind of be all in for quite some time before you're going to be able to mentally remove yourself from your work completely. And that's just kind of the trade-off. You're going to have to allow time for your agency to grow enough where it makes sense fiscally to be able to bring somebody in that's going to help alleviate some of that workload and allow you to kind of go on a true vacation. And I think that was the biggest takeaway for me. Not having my dual screen computer and productivity certainly was, a little bit lower being on a laptop and in a dining room of an Airbnb. But I was still able to stay on top of things. But vacationing was definitely an interesting experience in terms of what you can and can't do as an agency owner. So that was one of the big takeaways. The other thing is you can bank on it when the minute you leave your normal environment, shit hits the fan. Like everything's fine, everything's great. And then you leave. And then when you're away, that's when everybody needs something, or that's when, challenging things come up. So that certainly was the case too. So you kind of have to be prepared for that too. So that's tough. Now I'm lucky because I have a great team and they're able to kind of fill in and help out in terms of, the day-to-day client operational sorts of things. And that's super important. You need to have people that you trust. You can't just hire people that just do work. You really want to make sure you surround yourself with people that you can trust and have a high level of intellectual horsepower, emotional intelligence. I'm gonna do an episode eventually about just that. The power of hiring people with incredible emotional intelligence is an incredible trait to have and to surround yourself with, and I'm lucky to have that. But you leave for a couple weeks and everything just seems to hit all at once. So another takeaway was we lost a couple clients, and there's good attrition and there's bad attrition. In this particular case, it's good attrition. We've learned over time who the right type of client is for us and who the wrong type is, especially me. I've gotten better at assessing that up front and feeling confident in not getting into a relationship with a situation that I sense is not a good fit. Now, that being said, there's been plenty of incidents where I've kind of been on the fence and decided, well, I don't know definitively, so let's give this a shot. And I think what I'm learning is, where that line is drawn. I think I need to do a better job of increasing my red flag alert or trusting my gut or my instincts when I feel something doesn't feel right. Because I'm usually pretty spot on. I can't think of any instances where I've felt that way and it went really well. It's usually I felt that way and it ends up not being a great fit for us for a variety of reasons. Typically they involve, clients not treating my team well. I have a zero tolerance policy for assholes. I don't allow clients to treat my team disrespectfully, and that's a line that I draw. So oftentimes it could be something along those lines, or often it's usually that, or the client is just unresponsive, or they don't meet us halfway on anything. You can't, as an agency owner, you can't do great work for a client if they're going to check out completely. If they take forever to get back to you, if they're not an active participant, if they're not sharing with you their true feedback and what they feel about things, then you're just kind of spinning your wheels. You can only do so great when you're in a situation like that. So oftentimes we'll come across clients that just aren't invested in what we're doing. And that doesn't work. You can't, as a business owner, you can't expect to hire an agency and then set it and forget it. It doesn't work like that. I mean, yes, of course, you shouldn't have to worry about the work itself or having to spend time on that, but you just, it's not where you can just give it to somebody else to do and then not have to think about it at all. If you want to work with an agency, if you want that relationship to work, you have to be an active participant. And then sometimes we come across folks that just aren't, and the writing's on the wall. And up till now, we've just kind of, well, I guess we'll just keep going. And, it feels a little uncomfortable to keep taking a client's money when they're not an active participant, because you're just kind of treading water and doing the best that you can. But I think as an agency, we need to be better at setting expectations up front with clients. I think that's one thing that we worked on. What we've learned through some of these experiences is putting actual language in our pitches and proposals that says, hey, this is our expectation of you. Here's what we need you to kind of commit to in order for this to work. And I think that might be an effective strategy to kind of get out in front of those issues. So if they do happen, we can point back and say, well, we told you that we needed this and we're not getting that. So I think that might be helpful for us to kind of get out in front of those situations moving forward. But then also not being afraid to basically challenge our clients and say, look, we don't think that this is working. Here's why. And it might be better if we just part ways, because we want to feel like the work that we're doing is providing value. And if we can't get what we need from you to do that, then maybe we need to be the aggressor and saying, this isn't working. And so I think that we need to do a better job of trying that, because I think one of two things will happen. One, the client will probably be impressed and respect us for taking that initiative, or they'll just say, oh, well, we can't, they'll agree that they can't give us what we need to do our best work, and you part ways. So, our livelihood as a month-to-month agency is that we get into mutually beneficial working relationships. Like, that's what we need. We don't want to get into a situation where we get into a bad situation and then we only work with them for a couple months, because that's not a good signal. As an agency, I get the risks of being a month-to-month agency in terms of valuation over time, which I feel will be offset by showing a history of incredible client retention. So it doesn't benefit us long-term at all to allow ourselves to get into working relationships with clients that have very low potential to stick around, because then that hurts our retention rate. It hurts what I inevitably will care about, our valuation over time. So those are the things, as an agency owner, you have to kind of think about that. Like, it's really easy to think, oh, I want that monthly retainer. I want that money in our bucket. But you really have to think through, what are your goals and objectives long term? And is taking on a client like that in the short term a better option than thinking about how it might affect your agency and business in the long term? Now, obviously, the answer to that question varies depending on where you're at in the life cycle of your agency. If you're just starting out in your first couple months, yeah, you need to take more risks. You have to take what you can get. Obviously, when you get a little bit farther down your agency life cycle, you can get a little bit more aggressive with or selective about who you work with. And we're kind of in that middle ground right now where, we can decide not to work with somebody up front and be okay. But, we haven't reached a point where, we can say we can have a super high level of selectivity around who we work with. So it's a process that you work through over time. And you eventually get to a place where you do get to really kind of pick and choose who you work with. And that's a good place to be, because then you're setting yourself up for success short and long term. So those were some of the big takeaways for me, having traveled a couple weeks, aside from, leaving Seattle in the summer and coming back in the fall, which was an interesting experience. We literally had about a 30-degree drop in weather from the time I left to the time I came back. So that was a little bit shocking as well. But that's where we're at. But overall, Socialistics is doing well. We're still on our journey to becoming $1 million agency. Certainly the pandemic has slowed that down, and we're kind of in that place where we're kind of just, our net gain is kind of just a little bit up, and then you go down a little bit, then a little bit up. So it's almost like 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, a lot of back and forth. But that's how we're designed. That's how we're built. When you are more selective on who you work with, and so you have kind of this consistent slow growth that, quite frankly, we're okay with, as long as we all get to continue to work and do our thing and live comfortably. I'm okay with a slower path to that ultimate goal, and I think there's an outside shot we could hit it by the end of the year, but I think I'd put a lot of money on the fact that we're definitely going to hit that in 2021 and beyond. So I'm really happy with where we're at. So that's it for this week. Short version, but I'm excited with some of the topics we'll be discussing in the next couple weeks. So thanks for listening. Please follow us on Socialistics. All you got to do is search for our name, our website, social media, leave a review on iTunes, help other people find this. And as always, shoot us an email or let us know that you're listening, what you like, what you don't like, and all that good stuff. So thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.